No?
No.
We're not good. We can't start.
Who wants to join me on attempting to play the very buggy variant of Phasmophobia right now?
What?
They released a new major update for Phasmophobia, and there's so many bugs.
Damn.
They're fixing it slowly, but
That's good at least. Right, anyway,
Alright.
I guess we shall start then, if anyone is not ready. Alright, so, CTF, another one of those topics that the community just kind of says, it's bad, please delete. Do you guys agree with that? What are your thoughts on CTF right now?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those people.
it,
I don't really have any fun with it. I don't really have any more feedback on it. I just
Just kill it.
like
I think
unless I'm playing with a group, and even with a group, it just feels so out of place, at least in
take-
my view. Um,
I
but-
think
yeah.
What do you think, Deathwagon?
I think it could be good if they overhauled it.
I
If they
think
what?
Reworked
if they
it,
overhauled it, yeah.
Completely reworked
Yeah.
it.
We'll get to that in a
Yeah.
second, actually, with like what they could do to change it, what everyone's thinking about. Anyone else? Motive, do you have anything? What's your general consensus with CTF as of this moment?
Like, should it be deleted?
Should it be deleted, or just personally, do you like it? Do you hate it? How are you feeling about it?
I'm very mixed. It depends on the base. I don't want to say there's ever been like a fight where it's like, oh yay, a CTF base, but there are bases that make it less dislikable than others.
Yeah.
I think I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and that's actually another thing I want to talk about, like placement of like some of the conduits and depots and stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Reaper, what about you? How do you feel about CTF? Yay, nay, eh?
I appreciate the effort. But like, yeah, it's very half-baked. They were just kind of like, oh yeah, new feature. Does it work
Yeah,
well? Does the flow work? Who knows? Fuck it. Patch it to lie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if Possum was here, he'd be like, he kind of give it. He'd probably say it was like the OSHA treatment. We have it just to have it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like,
Anyways.
what's the point in CTF? Good question. Wait, there's supposed to be a point? Oh, we forgot about that bit.
we forgot about that. All right. So yeah,
I'm gonna head off though. But have a good podcast, everyone.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving your opinion of Websy. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, before we continue, I promise to not send you any more Steam messages while you're recording.
I think I should have
Got
fixed
that.
that, but let's just be on the safe side. Let's save the messages until we're like wrapping up, and I actually want to end the recording. Yeah, but yeah, thank you, Motive. All right, so general consensus is it's bad from Wubsy, it's from Motive. It's like good attempt from Reaper. Me personally, I'm also kind of like you, Motive. I'm like, I mean, it could be good, but as the current state, it's like,
You mean me?
oh, sorry, Deathwagon. Sorry, I'm so sorry. But anyway, yeah.
Sorry,
No, that's
buddy.
how I'm kind of feeling as well. It's like, I'm okay with it, but it's like, things definitely need to change if it needs to be staying in the game.
It's designed for more lower pop fights, because if you fight it like a 12 to 24 on both sides, it's good. But
Really?
in like Zerg fights, it's just so much, because you got to defend the repository. Another problem, I have a few problems with it, I'm going to be honest.
Go ahead.
You want me to just go at it?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep up, man. Yeah, go ahead. What's
First
some problems with
problem.
it that you think about it?
The second the repositories are turned over, all of the attacker's progress is lost.
True.
Outright. I think it should be more like the domination mode that we dominantly have across the map, where instead of it instantly switching back to full flags being capped, I think it should be more of a gradual
Reduction.
recovery.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
to just jump in real quick,
ahead.
it kind of does do that when like you don't cap the flag in time enough. It's like I think if you don't cap the flag within like 2 minutes 30, it
It adds another flag that the attackers have to go
Yeah.
and grab again, basically. Yeah, no, no,
Mm,
that is something that I've kind of been thinking about as well. It's like that's the thing. It's
I've
like
never
okay,
had that happen
let's put
before.
about let me put this by you. When you think CTF, what comes to your mind? Now, don't think
Oh,
Planetside. Just
fuck.
well, what comes to your mind when
Oh,
you think
Team
CTF?
Fortress 2.
Team Fortress 2. Okay.
Halo.
enemy captured your flag.
no, like
Years of playing Halo capture the
maybe
flag.
Yes, that's where I was thinking as well with Engine's idea. When they said they were going to bring a CTF mechanic to this game, my thought would be more like it would be like Halo, where there'd be two flags, or like Deathwagon said, it would be like Team Fortress 2 with the intelligence. There would be two of them. Instead, we have this kind of half CTF where one side is capturing the flag and the other side is just trying to prevent it. Do you think
It was
because they went with that direction, do you guys think that it's suffering because of it?
Yes.
Well, in bringing up the Halo example, it's more like one flag in Halo, where it's short rounds of one team is attacking while the other is defending. Except in the case of Halo, each of those rounds would only last, believe it was like 3 minutes. And then if the attackers succeeded, that was it. That was the round. Or if they didn't succeed, nobody got a point. Where it's
I'm
like that, but then you have to do it 12 times. And if the attacker or if the defenders reset it, you're done and have to start over.
Go ahead,
I'm not
Motive.
gonna say that it's like a bad idea to do it like where both sides have a flag that they need to defend and a flag that they need to capture. It's just how do you put that into the context of capturing or defending a base?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And also the fact that I guess like my personal beef with it is when they first announced it, I thought to myself, on paper this sounds great, but implemented, I don't think it's gonna work because it's
I
like
know.
you're throwing a new base capture mechanic and defend mechanic into a game that's 10 years old, where everyone is just used to go to point, defend point, fight over point, basically. And there are some like side objectives like with like like amp stations and stuff like that where it's like overload the generators to get into the point room, etc., etc. So, what would you guys think that they could do to change it for the better? We'll get to like a placement of router of the conduits and the depots in a second. But what do you guys think that they could do to change it right now in
I
its current state?
I've got
So
one major thing for this is that
yeah, let me
what
go.
they did is that they put CTF in bases that were designed around domination. I think if you're
Ah,
going to implement a new game mode like that, something you need to do is just bring in new bases. I know that takes up dev time, but it just doesn't function as well without bases designed around CTF. Because like throwing CTF into Fort Drexler of all bases, probably not the best move.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deathwagon.
So here's my idea on like a rework of making it good.
Okay.
Which we have the repositories, right?
Yep.
We know what those are. Those are supposed to be where you dunk it. What if the attacking team has to capture a repository and it turns into like a temporary flag post for the attackers? And then you have this back and forth two flags where defenders would have to still push out instead of sitting on their flag points. And you could have your CTF with two teams having
Mhm.
flags,
With two flags. Yep.
which could work.
I think that's something I
Having,
had as well. Sorry, Angie. Go ahead.
I was going to say, having two flags would also get both sides moving a lot more. Because in the
Yeah.
case of, in the case of it just being the way that it is now, if you're the ones defending, if you're just say if it's at an aircraft tower or something, and a bunch of people are sniping, trying to shoot the flag carriers. Well, if two flag carriers on each side are going back and forth, then there's a lot more movement involved, and more or less just sitting and camping.
Yeah.
And the more movement might add some more excitement.
No, absolutely. That's actually something that I thought about as well. It's like with CTF, it's like we always think it's two flags, not one. So adding like a second flag that the defender would have to fight over as well to kind of cap it back, so to speak. I feel like that could be a good idea as well. But then, of course, my problem with that is Well, would that create stalemates, do you think, then, where it's like they have to like try and push out? Like say for some unknown reasons the Sunderer doesn't just die from the attacker side and they are able to keep the Sunderer alive without it just being killed instantly, right?
Mhm.
Which is kind of a problem these days with Sunder's survivability. Do you guys think that stalemates might occur if there is two flags then that are being fought over from the attacker and the defender to try and cap the base back into their side? Do you think that might be
I
a problem?
I think it again comes back to having bases designed around CTF rather than putting them in domination. Because I feel like you could, if you design a base around CTF, you can design it in such a way that stalemates don't happen. For example,
Mhm.
like having, I don't know, like making two different paths to go to the enemy flag, or just something like that. Because I
Timers,
feel like if you're gonna, it
as
just
I
kind of, I think it
said,
just comes back to the thing of having a base designed around CTF rather than throwing
Okay.
it in a domination base.
Okay.
temporary flag point for the
Temporary
attackers.
flag point. Yeah.
So you could have like a, oh, I don't know, prevent stalemates from happening. You could have a 6-minute timer on the flag point. Now that's long, but that's as long as the defenders keep the attackers out of reach of their flag.
True. True. So, are you saying then like instead of like CTF being its own part of a base, it should be like an add-on to a base then? Like so we
No.
hold on, let me kind of explain a little bit. So you still have the point that you can go and capture, but then there's like CTF to like speed it up or try and go like it's like an add-on to a base if you can't get to the point room. Is that what you're kind of going at, Deathwagon?
Sorta. I mean, that could work, but
Hmm. And by the way, when I say like bring a flag to a point room, like say you go you take the base, you flip the A point, and there's like a flag somewhere in the base. I don't know where they would put it. I don't know if they should put it on small bases. I think it should be for big bases personally.
yeah.
But basically, you get the flag in the big base like an amp station or a tech plant, and if you bring it to A point, the timer can go down quicker, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Remove a section
Only for
of
like an
time
X
from the
amount of
cap.
seconds, basically. So it's like, yeah, CTF is still there. You can still play around with it, but it's not necessary for you to play with it. What are your thoughts on
See,
that?
I think that would work because a lot of these times when people are defending bases and they're heavily outpopped,
Mm-hmm.
you just gotta sit there and watch the timer slowly tick away before someone's like, "Oh, hey, that's a problem."
Mm.
And as an attacker, you could be sitting there doing nothing for like 2 minutes, and like a secondary objective, like a flag to capture, to speed up the point capture, would be cool.
Hmm. Okay.
But I think that should be for bigger bases with longer cap times.
Yeah.
That shouldn't
Yeah.
be implemented everywhere.
No. I feel like if it was to be implemented everywhere, which I don't even know if the devs won't even want to implement that everywhere, it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, with like where it's like only like 3 minute cap timers on each base, it's like I feel like that would be not necessarily breaking the game, but more like speeding it up to the point where, oh shit, is there even enough time to respond to some bases to try and stop the cap, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have thoughts on that?
I've already given you my part.
Okay, okay. So, from the sounds of it, then let's move on to the next point, which is, say they don't change the CTF at all, they don't overhaul it, they keep it the way it is. So, layout of CTF, like placement of where the conduit is, where the depot is. I think I don't know if it was you, Emotive, who said that you had something to say about that.
I mean, nothing in particular, but I guess it kind of does come back to the thing of designing a base around CTF. So I guess I'm trying to think of there, because I think there are some bases where the where the conduit is actually closer to the spawn room than the flag is, which that doesn't really make sense to me.
Oh
Though
yeah,
I'd
no.
have to I'd have to fact check myself
They're
on that. I don't know if that's accurate.
like, let's take like Indar's. Where is it actually? It's Indar excavation site. How one of the flags is inside the tower. It's like, why?
Yeah, no, see,
Why?
yeah, that's. I do think the
Why?
flag should be close to the defenders, but not that close.
Yeah, that's like, oh, I'm just gonna walk out of spawn. Oh, hey, look, I'm here. It's like, I feel like that's something that needs to be changed for the better, just so like attacking a CTF base isn't frustrating when all the defender has to do is just stay in the tower and doesn't do anything else until more pop just starts showing up to kill the Sunderer and then to flip the depot back. Yeah, I think conduits need to be taken out of towers.
The biggest issue with CTF is that, and again, it comes back to having bases designed around CTF. A lot of the bases that CTF is in currently make you run across an open fucking field
Yeah, that is
with
another
zero cover. Like,
problem.
think about like West Pass Watchtower. Like, I guess you can kind of sneak around the buildings to the north, but even then, it's like, eh.
Hmm. Can we shout out actually, like placement of CTF bases on certain maps that just don't make any sense? Like it, this is something that I've had beef with for a while. Is why is there so many CTF bases on Ezimir clumped up to each other? Do you ever notice that on Ezimir? There's Madison's Triumph, the Traverse, Advari Barracks, and Advari South Bank, like all on that left side of the map. It's like, why? Why is it not more evenly spread out across the map? Why is it all clumped together? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that really should be looked into if they're not gonna remove it, if they're gonna rework it. I would love to see how they would rework it, to be honest. And I guess we will just have to wait and see about that.
While the whole idea of using like two flags at one base is very hard to look at and figure out, Matheson's Triumph being a fairly symmetrical base could be interesting if they tried to do something like that there, since both towers are pretty
True,
symmetrical
it's
of each other.
true. Madison's Triumph with a two flag could actually work since it is just symmetrical to each other. It's a tower, and the three walkways in between. It's the same on both sides. That could actually be interesting to see.
Probably the only base where it would make sense too.
True. True, true. Yeah.
But again, why would the defenders have to capture a flag?
True.
No,
Well,
not
it's more
question.
like, I don't know, like, think of it like if they do make CTF a two flag attack, it would be more like, I don't know, like hacking or quote unquote taking over like sections of the building or the base, I guess, if you want to look at it like that way. I know I'm probably
Or
not like describing it the best, but I hope I getting the point across of what I mean by that.
or could just look at it simply as, even though it doesn't make literal sense as to why the defenders would have to capture flags as well, considering capture the flag works that way in most games, just deal with it.
Mhm. True. Ooh, a CTF base actually opened up. Let me go fight there. So yeah,
That does bring up an idea.
go ahead.
Because I remember I had seen Sirius made a video on it, and I was gonna touch on this eventually, but I guess I can kind of segue to it if you don't mind, Travis.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sirius, it's like on one of his old videos, he goes on about a possible method. This was before CTF, but then he had called back to it in another video about CTF, where basically it's like the attackers kind of like slowly push up. Like, for example, they'll take the flag, they'll push it up to a certain point in the hex, and that unlocks them a new spawn. And it's kind of just like almost a rush game mode, like from Battlefield
Frontline.
or
Classic.
Frontline, yeah. So I do think that could be interesting if they try to implement that, because when they first announced that they were gonna add a new game mode. I was kind of hoping it wasn't gonna be CTF. I was praying that it was gonna be Rush, but it was not. But I do think if they did like a CTF X Rush kind of style, that could be interesting, perhaps.
That might work.
I think payload could work if you redesign some of the bases.
Or payload. That would be. I don't know
Ooh.
how you do that.
Yeah,
You'd
that's
have
actually.
to redesign some bases, but I think it could work.
I feel like if we move it on to like a payload type of thing, then it would have to be like Mo's saying. You got to make a base for it. It would have to be like the base would have to be completely redone to work with
Well,
it.
that can
Because
be
my biggest
said
concern with
for
a
some of the
payload is, well, is it going to be
CTF.
outside? Is it going to be indoors? Is it going to be cast spam, grenade spam? Is it going to all these what ifs start popping into my head of if a payload was to be made instead. It's like I don't know. I don't know about that. Hmm. Hmm. So if they don't change CTF and they do move things around with CTF, is there anything else like they could also do to make it more, I guess, user friendly in a way of just go to a flag, capture it, and run it all the way across a base? Do you guys think they
do
could?
have one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
So something, and I was afraid that this was going to happen when it got implemented, and I guess I haven't seen it too much. There's like one moment in my mind where this has happened that sticks out of my mind because I had to kill a teammate because he didn't know where the flag was, and I basically killed him, took the flag from him, and brought it to the conduit. But when I killed him, instead of getting a rage kill, he said, "Thank you. I didn't know where I was going with this." I do think some indication, like some arrow or something pointing to the conduit saying, "Hey, you need to bring it here," would be nice. Because now that I think about it, CTF was added after the new tutorial, so the current tutorial probably doesn't even mention CTF at all.
No, it doesn't. It's basically kind of tells you how to spawn, how to pull a sunderer, how to deploy a sunderer, how to capture a base, but only like the point base. It doesn't touch in CTF at
Yeah.
all.
But I don't think they updated it when they added CTF.
No,
So
they did not do that. Maybe they could add it to the tutorial, but that would have to be redoing that huge line of code and everything. We don't know if that would be a good change or not, or if it'd just be a waste of time.
Or just put on a couple paragraphs at the end saying, "Oh, by the way, there's capture the flag bases. Here's what you should do with them."
no, I don't think it's a good idea.
I would say like they could maybe rework the mission system of capture the conduit, but that is I don't know.
What do you mean by mission system?
Yeah, the mission system. You press I and you have your daily missions that you can do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there is a capture the conduit mission in there where it's like capture. I can't remember. I think it's like take the conduit 3 times and capture a CTF base once to get to make the mission.
That captures a CTF base and capture conduits.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they could do that. Or maybe here's something that they could do. What if when you grab the conduit, right? Like how like as a squad leader you can like press Q on like A point, B point, C point, and you can say to set priority target, and like green arrows come out and point at it on your HUD. Maybe they could do something like that if if someone picks up the conduit, it tells them that they need to go over here. Do you think that'd be a good change or no?
I think you could
Be something.
implement. So, in the containment sites, we have the lines that lead you to each of the points. I think what you could do is, this might be a little hard for the devs, but you could like program a containment site style line that path finds like the best possible path to the conduit on the ground for them. Like only they can see it. They being the conduit holder, but only they can see it, so they aren't totally lost in where they're supposed to go with the conduit. Because as Motive was saying, I've seen people at CTF bases who are just wandering around aimlessly with the conduit in their hands because they have no idea where to take it.
Yeah, yeah. And we are getting another guest here, actually. Aaron just messaged me. Hello, Mr. Aaron. Welcome to the podcast of CTF. How you doing today?
Well, especially after a very successful op.
Man, that got very sweaty at the end of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. We've kind of covered, I want to say, like the majority of things, but since you're here, we can just kind of run by like kind of what we already talked about. Just kind of get your thoughts on it, see what you agree with, don't agree with, any
All right,
suggestions you
let's
might
hear it.
do, or changes they could make. But first off, CTF, man, how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts on it in the current state that it's in?
Let's just put it as it is right now. It's not very popular. Let's be honest about it.
True, true.
But it's hard to see exactly how it fits within the usual Planetside game loop. As in, you're supposed to capture a base, and you're supposed to have a lot of back and forth, and you're supposed to complete objectives to move the front forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly see how a capture the flag game mode would fit within a total war landscape like Planetside.
Actually, wait,
how?
no. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Can I
Reaper.
just interrupt briefly? What if in our massive combined arm games, on the topic of capture the flag, what if we get them to use armor to take the flag from 2 bases?
Like,
Like,
oh, like
Wow,
from the
you're
hexagon
thinking
to
massive,
Yeah.
massive change here.
That is-
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it's an MMO based on combined arms, and we don't have anything that actually incentivizes people moving around with said vehicles.
Okay, so I have an idea.
So-
So I have an idea on how to do that. So what I would do is it's 2 domination bases, right? But in order to unlock the lattice line to the next base, you have to take like a payload of some like that
Yeah,
comes back to the
yeah,
payload
yeah,
thing.
yeah, something
So
like that.
Make it like a bomb that you have to detonate it like a gate or something.
Yeah, or
Ooh.
something like that. That could be interesting.
Yeah,
That could
yeah,
be
exactly.
interesting.
Where it's like, yeah, you actually have it where it's like, no, this vehicle is the VIP, protect it. They have the flag. You know, get the armor around them. You get command chat saying, "Hey, we need tanks. We need repair Sundays. Help us." Rather than
Yeah.
where it normally is, where it's kind of
Gal
Sunday
drop,
go broke.
Gal drop, gal drop, or VCats. Velk drop, Velk drop, Velk drop.
Or
But yeah, no,
alternatively, you could have
Go ahead, Heron.
you could have a number of bases which would be the current capture the flag setups, but instead of capturing flags from one point to the other in the same base, you have a control core that you bring from one base to the other using vehicles.
Mm.
Yeah.
You transport the core to get hacked, and you bring it back to the base to finish the capture.
Mm. That does sound very interesting. You capture a base, you then grab the flag to unlock the next base, hack the base, whatever that decides to do.
Mhm.
But do you think even then, like, you know, as I said a while back ago, Aaron, this is a 10-year-old game and they threw in a new system that people were just not expecting. Do you think this would be also just way too big of a change then if they were to implement something like this? And would you think the player base would also just say, no, this is a terrible idea? Thoughts on that?
Well, if we want to talk about the Age of Planetside too, maybe if people want a third Planetside game, then don't really implement it. But if
Mm.
the current game is going to be going for many more years to come,
Mhm.
I would say throw it around, maybe run it on a test server, see if it sticks, see if it doesn't.
Yeah,
We do
And-
have a test server for it.
that is true.
Do
Possibly.
they even do a test server for?
I
Isn't
think
it test
they.
server
I
for
think they
CTF?
threw it on the CTF. Just excuse me. I can't speak. I'm sure that if I remember correctly, the PlanetSide 2 devs did throw it on the test server just to see if it would be working in game. But I think it was only there for literally less than a week, and then they just shipped it to live without any feedback or.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Yeah. No. But no, I think like what Possum was saying with Osher as well. They could do the same thing with CTF. Get creative with it. Try it out. Throw it on the CTF. You don't have to throw it to live, but just try some things. See how the feedback is. let people express, is this better, is this worse? Yeah, no, they could definitely do stuff with it on the on the PTS with capture the flag. Hmm. So Aaron, is there any other like changes that you would let's keep it like that then. The current state of CTF, what do you think that they could change with it right now to make it better if they don't rework the entire system like we just talked about?
Well, hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you really ask me, the entire thing could be scrapped and redone from the ground up. But
Mhm.
as it is right now, maybe some people want to keep it. But I know that a lot of people don't really care for it.
So let me ask
I
a
don't think I have an opinion on that, really.
okay.
It's just...
So let me ask this then to everybody. If so, from what I'm hearing is like the current CTF is not the best. We all agree on that. So are you like all in favor of if they're not going to remove it, they do completely rehaul it into something else of a CTF kind of game
Yeah.
mode? You would agree that whatever they change it to, right? Whatever they I can't speak. God damn it. Whatever they change it to, however that looks like in a rework, you think that would be better than the current system?
Yeah.
Probably
Yep.
the system.
I do
is
think people are too quick to judge to say that it immediately needs to be removed. I mean, I'm not a fan of it either. I kind of rolled my eyes when I saw it was going to be added into the game, but I do think that if the devs want to have it in the game, it can work. It just needs to be done right.
Yeah. It needs to be done right. It needs to be communicated better, I would say, as well, than what they did with it. I think, they just added it to have it, so to speak. If they are going to keep it in the game, which I'm pretty sure they are going to keep it in the game, I don't know if they would actually delete it. But if they are going to keep it in the game, then yeah, they need to spend a little bit more time on it than the first time around that they did with it. Definitely. Alright, I think that's basically it for CTF. A little bit of a smaller discussion than a big continent worth like Osher that we did last time. Any final thoughts that anyone wants to say right now? Closing remarks?
CTF is possible. It just needs a rework, in my opinion.
In your opinion, needs a rework. Okay.
I think it also needs to take into account the vastness of Planetside. And as I said, if it could be implemented and take into account multiple bases at once.
Yeah, I do really like the idea of having, like a payload type thing where it's capture the flag, but it's between a couple bases, or at least getting the vehicles involved to some degree rather than running around with the flag, getting shot, running
Yeah,
around
true.
with the
Make
flag
that
again.
work with like the construction bases on the continent.
Ah, maybe. They might be able to make that work with construction bases.
Because construction
Actually,
bases,
if you could
That
have
could be good.
a I don't know, flag boost modules that gave a benefit to your team having the flag in that area to make like your progression to the next base easier. Because then that would promote the idea of, an ant base being a secondary objective that people want to survive,
coming back
which
to the
currently
Or
it's
maybe
not.
have the player bases be the capture sites.
Mm.
True.
I would
true.
love to see a Rush-esque game mode specifically on those like open field hexes.
areas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It'd be dope because I mean that'll
Like
that
BL4,
would be
Untapped Reservoir, all the
kind
ones
of
where there's like a silo there, but add like more to it as well, so to
yeah, well,
speak.
yeah. Don't just make it like flat ground. Like do like
Add like some buildings, some cover here and
You do it
there,
with
so it's
the central bases.
this
Central
what do a
bases.
rush mode on the central bases.
Some central bases.
I
are-
think I don't think it could work on Nason's, but like the
I
crown
think it could work
definitely.
on Osher's central base.
Well, yeah.
maybe. I could see it working for the crown, where everyone says it's an uphill battle, but like if they are able to fight up the hill and get the next objective and open up the new spawns, that just keep working towards it. But then that would be a good question then of we're kind of off CTF now, but just want to quickly touch on that. How would they make that work in a three-way fight against the three factions?
Ooh, that's.
You
a
would
good
have to
point.
Yeah.
divert from your typical two-way fight and make it more of like 3 separate points that are okay. So I'm gonna use the Crown as an example because, in my opinion, the Crown is the best central base in the game as of right now.
Ooh, hot topic. Because I've heard people
Um,
say that it's not the best one, but go
Because
ahead,
you know
Deathwagon.
how to the north you have the massive natural staircase leading up
Yep.
to the crown.
Yep.
To the south you have the uphill battle to the tower,
Yep.
and to the east you have the bridge leading semi towards the uphill battle, but also can fight on its own front.
Mhm.
You could adapt the map to have the three fronts, sort of like biolabs where there's mini like bases around it, but instead of it being bases, you have like points you need to cap so you can start like the actual capping of
Yeah.
the crown. You'd have to adapt
Yep.
the bases to be able to do that, but
Yeah. And that's something as well that you just, if they do go that route, they do have to thoroughly test that and get player feedback, and also to see how the community itself is feeling about that as well. Because they might be like, that's a good idea, but then once they start playing it more and more, they're like, I don't know if this would fit into the gameplay of Planetside.
yeah, I get you.
Mm-hmm. All right, any other final thoughts about CTF at this time?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Well then, thank you all so much for joining me on this little shorter podcast of CTF. Hope you all
Much shorter
have
than the
a
last
good
one.
night. What was that, Deathwagon?
That was much shorter than the last
Oh
one.
yeah, because well, Osher we were covering an entire continent's worth. This we're just
We
focusing
were
on
just
a specific
yeah.
I also
gameplay.
felt much more awake for this one.
Yeah,
you were
it wasn't
awake?
2 in the morning like last time. No, understandable.
Random question.
Go
So
ahead.
I know these podcasts are unofficial, but if I were to say be working on a logo, what kind of name would we want to throw on this thing?
What for the podcast? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get there when we
We
get
get there. Listen,
yeah,
we'll just have
yeah.
listen. We'll just be doing our own thing, playing ops, and all of a sudden be like, "That's what we should call it."
Yeah. People just like call what? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Ah, don't worry about
Don't worry. You'll see it in self promo channel down the line.
Yeah, the red hot squawk time.
Squawk time. There we go.
Yeah, that's what we would call it.
Fits with us.
Anyway, yep. But anyway, that's basically it. Thank you all so much
We
for.
call it Bacon's Crispy.
Bacon's crispy. No, that's when we put
Yeah.
down
Block time
our
with the red
bacon.
hots.
See, we're getting into it.
Crispy bacon.
Crispy bacon. Crispy
Bacon
bacon
out.
time.
Grill no.
All right, but anyway, that's basically it for the podcast for tonight. Thank you guys for
Bye
joining me this
bye.
time.
Bye.
See ya.